What is up, everybody? What is up? What is up? Welcome to episode number 86 of the Super Grapple Bros podcast. Podcast about two brothers who are former WWE employees that enjoy both wrestling and video games. Solo episode for you guys today. I am your host, El Murpho. D-Murph could not join me because he's got craziness going on with the fam. And we are doing our WrestleMania 35 and NXT TakeOver New York review show. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going over the results of TakeOver New York and WrestleMania 35, going over all of the matches there. We're going to go over the prediction results for those who got involved in the predictions in the last episode with myself and D-Murph. Then we're going to do a weekly TV recap, get into some wrestling news, which includes reading off the results of the G1 Supercard, which unfortunately I didn't get to catch all of. Then when we're going to go into gaming, we're going to talk about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order and a bunch of other type of news. But before we get into any of that this week, I want to make an announcement regarding the podcast and the state of Super Grapple Bros. So as you guys know, D-Murph has been pretty busy of late. He has not been able to make a lot of episodes for the show. And because of that, it's put a lot on me to be able to do all of the prep work for the show, in addition to already doing all of the setup for the shoot, plus shooting the show, and then doing all the post-production. So what we're going to be doing with Easter coming up, and now we figured since it's WrestleMania, post-WrestleMania is one of the slowest parts of the year, we're going to be taking a hiatus. The show's going to take a bit of a hiatus. We are going to go ahead and take a break, refresh ourselves. And we're going to potentially even talk about how we might approach the podcast in the future when we do come back, whether we want to do this every single week and do the news recap again, or if we want to do it maybe just twice a month, where we do review and previews of big events, be that AEW, WWE, what have you. So we've got a lot to think about and talk about, and we hope to figure out what we're doing and be back in time for predictions for Money in the Bank, which will be on May 18th is when we're aiming to that prediction show would be, as the show's happening May 19th. So we're taking a hiatus for at least a month. We appreciate to all of you who are listening, who have listened to us, and who will be willing and to wait for us to return. Thank you all so much. It's a matter of trying to figure out what might potentially work best for us going forward, given the situation we're in, and see if there's ways that we can produce this podcast better for you guys in the future going forward, while also just refreshing ourselves. I mean, for example, myself, I haven't had a chance to get a haircut in about a month and a half because of having to fit in the podcast every single weekend. It's overdue. So it'll be much welcome, but we will be back. This is not the end of Super Grapple Bros. So we thank you guys for your patience while we go on a hiatus. So let's go ahead with that announcement out of the way, and let's get into the reviews. So NXT TakeOver New York took place at the Barclays Center, was not named NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 5, likely because it didn't happen over SummerSlam weekend, but technically it should have. Anyway, the show started off with what was arguably the best match of the night, which was the tag team title match of the War Raiders taking on Aleister Black and Ricochet for the NXT Tag Team Championships. War Raiders, despite a hard-fought battle, had a really cool entrance, by the way. The War Raiders at TakeOvers are 2 for 2 with awesome entrances coming out with Vikings, because Vikings. We'll come back to that later, by the way, when we get to video games. Aleister Black and Ricochet were very game. It was a very athletic, spotty kind of match. And I don't say spotty in a bad way. I mean spotty in a good way. Very back and forth, very high energy. Loved all of the acrobatics coming from Hanson and Rowe, as well as Aleister Black and Ricochet. And in the end, the War Raiders won the match, retained the championships, which we all expected that to happen. Then after the match, after the War Raiders left the ring, Black and Ricochet were left in the middle of the ring, kind of for their curtain call, because as we all know, they're regular fixtures now on the main roster, so they're going away. Their time with NXT is done. Crowd gave them a standing ovation. I thought this was the most insane match of the night. I enjoyed it. I loved the hell out of it, and what a way to kick things off for NXT TakeOver New York. I don't think Any of the matches potentially as a whole beat this match, but that doesn't mean that the show wasn't bad. The rest of the show wasn't bad. There was some good stuff. For instance, the match that happened next was Velveteen Dream versus Matt Riddle for the NXT North American Championship. Dream was getting his ass whooped. That booty was getting whooped up, down, left, right, upside down, all over the place in the ring by Matt Riddle. Didn't seem to be able to have an answer with him for him. And I liked that story about how Matt Riddle is just a guy that once you get in the ring with him, you don't beat Matt Riddle, you just survive against Matt Riddle. And that's exactly what Velveteen Dream did. He just tried to hang in there, rope-a-dope Riddle, get in offense when he could. And then when he got locked into the bro mission, it showed experience versus inexperience as far as being in NXT, because Velveteen Dream has been in NXT and been wrestling in the NXT for a while, whereas Riddle hasn't. Riddle releases the body scissors. Dream while in the bro mission, Dream recognizes it. No, he's got only one chance. Rolls over back onto his back, or onto his head, basically, which pins Riddle on his shoulders. 1, 2, 3 count match over. It was a really good match. Told a great story. Wonderful psychology in the ring. Really helped develop both characters, and also protected Matt Riddle in defeat, because it was kind of almost like you could say a quote-unquote fluky win. He made one mistake. He had one afterthought, didn't respect Dream's perhaps craftiness and ingenuity, and it cost him. And it showed that Dream can take hits, can survive, and while he isn't exactly a brawler and striker, and just mat technician like Riddle is, that he can hang in there, he can survive, and he can use his wits to still come out on top and win matches. So that was a really good match. I still think the tag match was better, but this was another great match on the show. Then we moved on to Walter facing Pete Dunne, or Pete Dunne facing Walter, trying to defend his UK championship. I mean, we all knew this was coming. Pete Dunne has had the UK championship, had it for almost 2 years straight. And today, that was just TakeOver New York was the night where it was all going to end. Pete Dunne falls to Walter via a big-ass splash from Walter off the top rope, and a gruesome, almost like jackknife powerbomb off the top rope. If there's a way for Pete Dunne to go out, you go with this intimidating 300-plus pound man just like dumping his ass onto the ring, powerbomb form, from the top rope, and then jumping and landing with all of his body weight on you. That's going to do it for Pete Dunne. What a hell of a run. What a championship run. This match wasn't as heavy hitting or high energy, or even as intense storytelling wise, or psychology wise, as maybe the War Raiders and Dream Riddle was. There was good stuff with Pete Dunne trying desperately to manipulate, of course, the joints of Walter, and Walter trying to stay away from it because it could affect his chops, could affect his way to deal offense to Pete Dunne. And yeah, it was another good, solid match. I would probably put this below War Raiders, Black Ricochet, and below Velveteen Dream and Matt Riddle, but still a very good match, very enjoyable. Then we went to what was quite possibly, in my opinion, which is unfortunate, the low point of the show. It was still a decent match, and that is the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Women's Championship. Shayna Baszler defending against Bianca Belair, Kairi Sane, and Io Shirai. And it's not this match was bad. It was still entertaining, and I still enjoyed it. It just felt it felt a little slow and plodding and kind of awkward. There was a really cool spot, though, where Shayna had Bianca Belair by her hair and was going to pull her into the ring post, and I believe that it was a callback to TakeOver back in for the Royal Rumble, but Belair was able to counter it and basically used her hair to pull Baszler into the post. I really like that spot. That was really cool and creative. And then surprisingly, to the shock of everyone thought Baszler's going to lose this championship and then she's going to get called up. No, Shayna Baszler retained. She's staying in NXT for a while, everybody. She defeated all three of them. I believe it was Kairi Sane she caught in the Karafuda clutch and passed her out to retain the championship. So overall, I thought it was an entertaining match, but it wasn't anything spectacular or nothing really stood out or jumped out at me the way that moments from the UK Championship, North American Championship, and the Tag Team Championships did. Bowling Dude, by the way, in the chat says, "Hi, Miss Murpho, how is you? I is good. I hope you is good as well." Don't forget, I stream these when we do stream Super Grapple Bros. It is streamed live at Twitch at twitch.tv/all_Murpho. So you can engage in the chat if you get involved while we go live. Big Stupid also said it was Bianca Belair. Wait, Blair? It wasn't. I don't think it was Bianca Belair who tapped. Wasn't it? So I thought it was Kairi Sane who passed out, but maybe it was Blair who tapped. All right, so I could be wrong. Thanks for the correction, Big Stupid. And you said that's because the other women aren't at the star level. Baszler is. I guess you could say that, yeah. Kairi Sane and Io Shirai, they've got that language barrier there. And Bianca Belair, she's a good wrestler. She's got a good gimmick, but for some reason, I just can't. I can't get super into it for some reason. I don't know why. And meanwhile, Shayna Baszler is just a absolute star. She is at the height right now that an Asuka or the Four Horsewomen or Paige were at when they were in NXT towards the end of their runs. So let's move on to the final match. Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole to win the vacant NXT Championship. The winner would do it 2 out of 3 falls match, and Johnny Wrestling finally won the big one. This match, I felt 2 different kind of ways about this match. In the first 2 falls, I felt like it was almost similar to the Women's Championship match, where it felt almost plotting, kind of awkward, kind of like they were going through the motions and that Gargano and Cole were having a hard time trying to find chemistry with one another. But then once it got to the 3rd fall, and we got to the false finishes, and Undisputed Era coming in and trying to run interference, and the outside spots with the table and everything, I thought their chemistry went from meh to holy crap. It was a really great second half or final third of the match, technically, because it was a 3rd fall. And it had me going. I was not sure if Johnny was going to win. I was on the edge of my seat with every single near fall. And Johnny Wrestling absorbed so much punishment, but eventually was able to take out every member of Undisputed Era and lock Adam Cole into the Gargano escape. And Adam Cole tapped, and the crowd erupted. Finally, Johnny Wrestling is Johnny Champion. And I am so happy for that. I am just overjoyed. I'm happy that Gargano finally won. After the match, Candice LeRae came running down to the ring, embraced Johnny. They celebrated together. And then as they went up to the stage, Tommaso Ciampa came out. We're like, what's going to happen? And Ciampa came up and actually hugged Candice and Johnny and said a few words. Who knows if Tommaso Ciampa, when he returns from his injury, will still have that frame of mind when he comes back, or if he'll be very much the Ciampa that we know of, who's a backstabbing jerk. There was a tweet sent out by Ciampa after the show that basically was saying, like, we did this, or person did this, and it was very vague, and it was veiled to make it look like he was talking about Johnny Gargano, but if you look at it and you just know Ciampa's history, it could very well him vainly be talking about himself. So it was very interesting, and we still don't know what's going to be next in this Ciampa Gargano saga when Ciampa comes back. If Gargano is able to hold on to the championship for that long, or if Johnny and Ciampa just get called up to the main roster and this story continues on the main roster. So that was NXT TakeOver New York. Again, NXT cannot have bad takeovers. Every single match was entertaining. I think every match with the Women's Championship match was a lot of fun to watch, very enjoyable, had some great drama in it. And I think the last third of Gargano Cole, War Raiders versus Black Ricochet, and Dream Riddle were probably the highlights of the show. And if I was going to narrow down the highlights, I'd probably maybe cut out Dream Riddle and say the last third of Gargano Cole and War Raiders versus Black Ricochet were the absolute best parts of the show. As far as where I would put it with other takeovers, I really don't know. I don't think it's one of the best takeovers I've ever seen, but it had some really great moments and some solid wrestling and solid matches. I would definitely check it out if nobody's watched it yet. So, with that done, I'm going to take a swig of water because we have a whole heck of a lot of matches to talk about because we're going into WrestleMania 35. Now, WrestleMania 35 started off with, unfortunately, the Cruiserweight Championship match. Was kind of hoping they'd get, not be the very, very first match of the pre-show, but such is the life of the Cruiserweights. And shockingly, Tony Nese defeated Buddy Murphy to win the championship. Everybody thought Buddy Murphy was going to retain. Some people thought Nese was going to win. But no, Tony Nese pulled it out of nowhere. It was a solid match, good wrestling. But again, unfortunately, they found themselves in the pre-show, which was unfortunate. Girl Irma Gurlau. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Hello, how are you? After that match, we had the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, which I actually thought was very entertaining. I enjoyed watching it. For a second there, we all thought Asuka was going to win, and then we thought Sarah Logan was going to win after Logan dumped Asuka out to the outside, but no, Carmella was never eliminated. She was on the outside. She came in, and she eliminated Sarah Logan, and she won. I thought it was very entertaining. Apologies. WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. It might be the best one out of, there's only been 2, I believe, one last year, but I enjoyed it, and good for Carmella to win, to get a good win at WrestleMania. Then we have Ryder and Hawkins facing off against the Revival for the Raw Tag Team Championships, which Ryder and Hawkins won. This match was kind of, it was there, it existed. It was nice to see Hawkins and Ryder get the win. It was really weird that Ryder and Hawkins did not wear matching gear, even though they're a tag team. I liked the nod to the Jets that Hawkins wore. Ryder, I believe, wore the same gear that he wore at WrestleMania 31 when he won the Intercontinental Championship, which is a nice callback. But, when you put them both together, it's kind of weird because they don't match, but whatever. Unfortunate that the Revival sees their championship run end already, but it was a nice moment for Kurt Hawkins to finally beat the streak, or end his losing streak. And then the final match was the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, which Braun Strowman won. Strowman basically dominated for a lot of the show, for a lot of the match. It was a decent Battle Royal. We had some nice moments at the end that featured, Che and Yost and Strowman just basically obliterated them. And that was the end of the pre-show. So moving on to the main show, we started off with one of the most awkward moments of the show, or any WrestleMania show. Alexa Bliss kicked off WrestleMania. She snapped her fingers. Out came Hulk Hogan to a surprisingly positive reaction. So good for New York for not booing him out of the building. And Hogan joked, made a jokingly almost felt forced callback to the Silverdome Superdome mess up he had at 30. And then he called the place not MetLife Stadium, but MetLife Arena, I believe he called it, or MetLife something. So good on you, Hulkster. And then Paul Heyman comes storming out to cut that off, and he says, "We're not going to wait. Brock Lesnar and I are not going to wait until the end of the night for this. We want to get this over with. We want to take the Universal Championship and get out of here. Bring out Brock Lesnar. Bring out Seth Rollins. Let's make this Universal Championship match happen right now." So we got the Universal Championship match, Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. And it followed the standard Lesnar format with a smaller guy where Lesnar just obliterates the guy early on until the smaller guy finally starts to get the upper hand. However, this time, Seth Rollins, when he got the upper hand, he capitalized big time on Brock Lesnar. Hit him with 1, 2, 3 straight stomps in the middle of the ring, and then pinned Brock for the shocking 1, 2, 3. The match was over in, I think, less than 5 minutes. Officially, it was, I think, less than 2 minutes from the ring of the bell, and we have a new Universal Champion. The crowd exploded. What a way to start off the main card of WrestleMania 35 as far as the first opening match. The reign of terror of Brock Lesnar is finally over, and long live Seth Rollins, the Kingslayer, the Beast Slayer, the Universal Champion. And one other thing I want to note, I like that he did his traditional championship belt celebration that he used to do when he was NXT champion, and then did it at WrestleMania 31 when he won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. So he kind of did a callback to both of those by celebrating in that fashion with the Universal Championship on the stage. Next match after that we had was AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. This was a solid match, like nothing that you wouldn't see out of like a normal pay-per-view, but a solid grudge match. Some good back and forth. I liked how AJ faked out the phenomenal forearm to get Randy to just jump for the RKO. And then I liked when Randy actually did RKO AJ, but as he was springboarding instead of mid-jump. It was a solid match. Nothing too spectacular to really write home about it. And AJ Styles eventually was able to finally hit the Phenomenal Forearm on Randy for the 1, 2, 3. Next match was The Miz versus Shane McMahon in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And this match was great. I loved it. Shane played a great heel. Miz, this was the most over I've ever heard a crowd be for The Miz as a babyface. They fought all over the place. Miz threw Shane over a balcony, and he bumped off the top of a golf cart and onto the concrete floor. Shane bumped his ass off like crazy. They fought their way up over the hard cam rigging, and then the match ended in probably one of the best WrestleMania moments of the night. It's hard between this and the 3 big championship wins on the night, but oh man, that superplex by The Miz to Shane, and then Shane just happened to have landed on top of Miz and thus getting the 3 count. That was perfection to me. Shane wins, but Miz doesn't look bad at all. He just took things too far, and he actually technically, even though he lost, he kind of sort of won in the end because he dealt out the justice he wanted to in physical form to Shane. I thought it was a solid, strong, awesome match. Then we had the Usos defending their SmackDown Tag Team Championships against Aleister Black and Ricochet, The Bar, and Naka Rusev, which is Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev. And the Usos retained. This was another match that was okay. It was solid. Nothing really blew my mind exactly. And it was fun. And good on the Usos for retaining, even though they didn't do it for that long, which we'll get to later. Then we had the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match, which was a fatal 4-way that featured Boston Hug, Sasha Banks, and Bayley defending against Beth Phoenix and Natalya, aka Divas of Doom, versus Nia Jax and Tamina, which I don't know if they were still called the Simone Slaughterhouse, but whatever, versus the Iconics, which was Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. And it finally happened. Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, the Iconics, capitalized, got a pinfall, and won the match. They are the Women's Tag Team Champions. This is one thing that I'm actually realizing now that I'll keep saying. WrestleMania 35 had a lot of feel-good moments. Even though the Iconics were heels, everybody knew that, they grew up in Australia together. They went to high school together. They trained together. They were in NXT together. They were friends growing up. And now here they are. They've come all this way from Australia, a place that doesn't produce a lot of WWE superstars. I mean, it's just the only ones that I can think of is the Bushwhackers were from New Zealand. They weren't from Australia. The only ones I can think of off the top of my head, aside from the Iconics, is Buddy Murphy. And they're all current superstars. So it's just incredible to see them come out of that place, which isn't exactly a hotbed for WWE wrestling, and making it all the way to the big show and winning tag team gold together. It was a great moment. The match itself, it was all right. It was serviceable. It was okay. And that's pretty much about all I have to say about that. But then, we have what was the biggest moment of the entire night. This moment will live on as one of the greatest moments in WrestleMania history, if you ask me. Kofi Kingston is finally WWE champion. He defeated Kofi Kingston 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring with a single Trouble in Paradise to pick up the victory. Loved the match. Back and forth. We didn't know if they were going to pull the trigger or not. Daniel Bryan played such a good heel, making you want to hate him, making you doubt that Kofi was gonna win. They got Rowan involved. Ian Woods took him out with the up, up, down, down. Oh, it was so good. And then when Kofi got out of the yes lock and then started hitting Daniel Bryan with those kicks to the side of the face or the neck, and delivered Trouble in Paradise 1, 2, 3. If you guys watch back the WrestleMania 35 reactions, I lost it. I have never felt so much emotion for the result of a match in my entire life. I worked with Austin for a good year and a half about And I knew E and Kofi, just from working with them, I knew how much this meant to all three of them. And to see them celebrate and achieve what they dreamed, what they had been fighting for 5 years as a trio, Kofi for 11 years for his career, and to see the emotion, see Austin barely being able to hold it together as they revealed the championship, it was everything. I was tearing up. I had like tears running down my face. I couldn't control my composure. Congratulations to Kofi. Congratulations to Xavier Woods. Congratulations to Big E. You guys worked so hard for this, and you guys deserve it. You deserve every second of this run, of this reign, every single moment. Cherish it. You guys did it. I'm so glad you guys did it. Keep it going. Keep it going. Keep killing it. And so after we got that wonderful, amazing moment, the show needed to come down, so we went to Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio. Now, this was probably so short because Mysterio was hurt. Samoa Joe, but it still made for yet again another good moment. Solidified Samoa Joe, made Samoa Joe look like gold. Taps out Rey Mysterio in almost no time, retains the WWE United States Championship. Again, not much of a match, but I think it was a great moment and a great feather in the cap for Samoa Joe's career. Makes Samoa Joe look great as he goes into 2019, as he continues this year. Then we had Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. And again, a little bit of a grudge match. This was very similar to AJ Styles and Randy Orton. Not that it wasn't bad, but it also wasn't like an all-time great match. It had some solid back and forth. It was great to see Roman in the ring again for a singles match again. Great to see that he was able to recover in time to do WrestleMania. He and Drew had a solid match. Roman won. Nothing else to say there. Big Super saying then the crowd and the card went into the dirt. I wouldn't say that. I'd say the crowd was drained after that. And I wouldn't say the card went too terrible, because there were still some solid matches here. Then after that, we had the musical performance by Elias, which I kind of enjoyed. They had him on the screen playing piano and the drums while he physically played guitar in the ring. Then John Cena came out in a Babe Ruth jersey and a hat. I guess he was calling his shot as the greatest of all time, and he came out as a doctor of thugonomics. It was great to see him come out like that, though it was really weird seeing John Cena, who's, a Massachusetts fan, a Red Sox fan, coming out in a Babe Ruth New York Yankees jersey, but whatever. He cut some old Dr. Thugonomics rhymes, beat up on Elias, end segment. Nice little moment for WrestleMania. Again, it's Mania, so you got to have those moments. It was entertaining. Then we had Triple H facing Batista, and I actually really enjoyed this match. It was a lot of fun. They got real brutal. Triple H, what he did to Batista, all the uses of the wrench to twist Batista's arms, yanking the nose ring out of his nose with the pliers. It was just brutal. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great final match for Batista, a great solid send-off. Again, the crowd was still trying desperately to recover from the Kofi win and get into it. But I thought the match itself was fine. Then we had what I think was possibly the low point of the show, which was Baron Corbin actually beating Kurt Angle in his last match. It makes sense. Legends, they got to go out on their back when it's their time. I just kind of wish it was somebody... It was in a higher profile match on the card than somebody like Baron Corbin. But what can you do? The positives out of this, though, is that it wasn't too bad of a match. Kurt Angle got a nice little speech at the end. And, I mean, this is a good rub for Baron Corbin going forward. Hopefully he can turn it into something. The fact that he beat Kurt Angle in his final match. Then we moved on to the Intercontinental Championship match, where Finn Balor just beat up on Bobby Lashley and won the Intercontinental Championship from Bobby Lashley as the Demon. This is an excuse to get the Demon out there. He won. He's got the Intercontinental Championship. Hooray. But again, why not just keep the championship on him? Why do you have to take the championship off of Finn to put it on Bobby just for Finn to win it back? You could have just had Bobby maybe not be able to win, or Bobby just not care about wanting to win challenges for the rematch at WrestleMania and beats Finn Balor so bad in the weeks leading up to it to where Finn feels like he's got no choice, but that in order to hold on to the Intercontinental Championship, he has to tap into the Demon. But I thought the match itself was all right. I just don't understand why Lashley had to have the Intercontinental Championship going into it and why it couldn't have just been Balor. Big Stupid said that Triple H Batista match should have been like Lesnar Goldberg, just 12 minutes hard hitting action that could have kept the crowd. I mean, to each their own. I didn't have much of a problem with it. It wasn't too super long anyway, but whatever. I see your point. And you know, Lesnar Goldberg was booking perfection. When it comes to part-time guys who are a little older, who maybe can't like keep up the pace consistently for a long match. So the depression of Angle losing to the pointless demon junk was where it fell off. I mean, if you're gonna put it that way, I mean, I guess, yeah. But then we had the main event, which was Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte versus Becky Lynch, winner take all match for the both Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. And this match was okay. I don't think it was as good as everybody was hoping it would be. The entrances were great for Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. I thought it had some good action in it. It was entertaining, but I don't think it was the best match of the night. And I think it was seriously marred by the finish because it wasn't clean. Becky Lynch rolled up Ronda, and then the ref counted at the 3. There's confusion as to whether this was like some people think it was like a Montreal screw job where they deliberately did that to Ronda to where she would be pinned. Some people think that wasn't the plan and the ref just didn't see Ronda's shoulder come up, and so he went with the instruction of always count the 3. It's the wrestler's job to get the shoulder up. And some people were like, well, she was supposed to tap, and on that mistake thing, people think that Becky was supposed to tap out Charlotte, but who knows? It was still cool to see Becky finally win both championships and hold them up high as the man to close out WrestleMania. It was great to see the women main event and go on last at a WrestleMania for the first time ever. Unbelievable moment. I just think that the match itself was not exactly the greatest, but exactly the most entertaining on the night, and that ending and that finish really did kind of like harm and take the oomph out of the satisfaction of seeing Becky win. And so that was WrestleMania 35 as a whole. The show as a whole, I think it was a pretty good, solid, strong WrestleMania. Some unforgettable moments happened. Lots of good matches. Some low points. It was really hard for the crowd to get into it, even for the main event after that Kofi Kingston win. But, you know, it was still fine. I think it was better, by far better than WrestleMania 29, the last time WrestleMania was in MetLife. I don't know if I would say it was better than WrestleMania 34. WrestleMania 34 was pretty good. I'd say it was probably better than 30, definitely better than 32, potentially better than 33, maybe better than 31. Maybe 31 was a pretty good WrestleMania though. And definitely I don't think it beat WrestleMania 30. But it was a strong, solid WrestleMania, and I enjoyed it. And at the end of the day, Kofi Kingston is WWE Champion. Seth Rollins is Universal Champion, and Becky Lynch has both women's championships. So all is right with the world in that regard. Now that we're done through with that, as you guys know, whenever we do predictions and a review for a WWE pay-per-view event, or any kind of major wrestling pay-per-view event. Unfortunately, we didn't do any for the G1 Supercard because we didn't think of it in time. It had completely left our minds at the time that we were doing these. However, basically the way that these work, especially with multi-show ones, is whoever has the most correct predictions by the end of the weekend wins. But I did want to give shout-outs to people for list the results for the individual shows as well. So I want to say, for NXT TakeOver New York, I ended up winning that show on itself, getting 4 out of 5 right. Shout out to, and we give shout outs, by the way, to those in the who join our Discord server, which you can check out in the video description of the YouTube version, the show notes in the audio version, and on the channel page on Twitch. Join that. We have a viewer predictions channel within the server. You can put in your predictions for each pay-per-view, as long as you get them in before the bell for the first match rings. And if you tie or defeat myself or D-Murph, or if you get the most predictions correct out of all the viewers overall, you get shout-outs on the review show, which is what I'm doing right here. So, again, NXT TakeOver New York, I had 4 out of 5, so I had the most there. Shout-outs to Big Stupid and Mets fan, who had 3 out of 5, who both ended up beating D-Murph on the night, who had only 2 correct predictions there. When we go to WrestleMania 35, however, D-Murph was tied for the most with 11 correct predictions. Shout out to Mets fan who tied D-Murph and beat me with 11. And then shout out to Bowling Dude who tied me at 10. And then when we go to the entire weekend, your boy El Murpho, the reign of terror with the Brock Lesnar of the show is finally over. El Murpho is your champion once again. Your predictions champion again. Hashtag 3-time. Hashtag long may he reign. I had 14 correct predictions for the entire weekend, which tied the highest viewer who predicted it and who also beat D-Murph. So congrats to Mets fan for also having 14 correct predictions on the weekend. And D-Murph ended up coming in behind me with 13 correct predictions, but he was able to defeat all other viewer challengers. So, this baby's back where she belongs, and long may she stay by my side. Did you miss me? Did he take care of you? Oh, no, he didn't, because he never showed up to the shows, and he left you back there. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's going to be better. It's going to be all right. You're with me now. Am I going to swing the belt like Rollins? No. If I do, I will destroy so many things around here. I could do it, though. I could try it, but no. Maybe if I was outside. Maybe. All right. So, after WrestleMania, you know, the couple of shows, the SmackDown and the Raw after WrestleMania are normally big deals. These ones they had a couple of moments, but overall, I think they were weak with regards to Raw and SmackDown after WrestleManias in the past. There was and Raw ended up pissing off a lot of people, which I didn't end up watching because I didn't have cable that night. My cable internet decided to go out that night. A title winner take all match between Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins was set for the end of Raw, and it was interrupted by the bar, got turned into a tag team match with Kingston and Rollins won, standing tall. I mean, I think it's kind of dumb to tease that kind of a match with that kind of levity or gravity and then kind of cop it out. And I feel like a lot of fans agree with me, but at the same time, I'm also glad that Kofi Kingston didn't lose and end up with his losing his championship 24 hours after winning it. And at least Seth is still champion. Undertaker did not show up at WrestleMania 35, you guys realize by listening to what I was saying as I recapped the show. However, he did show up on Raw after Mania. It seems like with the Elias interruption, I think they were debating on whether or not they were going to do Cena or Undertaker. And so since they did Cena at WrestleMania, they did the Undertaker at Raw. He came out, chokeslammed and pile drove Elias into the canvas. And that was it. We also saw a promo, really weird promo, with this puppet in a box with smoke that emerged and just laughed. And they did it again on SmackDown. Now, aside from this being weird and being like, what in the living hell is going on? I'm pretty sure I know who it is. I'm pretty sure that's a promo for the return of Bray Wyatt. And why is that? Because the creature that was a puppet was a bird. Looked like a buzzard. And that buzzard puppet was also wearing a Hawaiian-style tropical shirt, which is what Bray Wyatt always wears. So that is Bray Wyatt, guys. That is the start of the tease of Bray Wyatt. We need to follow the buzzard to find the return of Bray Wyatt. So get ready for some craziness. Y'all thought Sister Abigail was ridiculous when it came to Bray Wyatt. Well, it seems like we ain't seen nothing yet. So let's see how that pans out. And also, like Big Stupid said, great gif of Elias's face when the gong hit for Undertaker to interrupt him. If that's Wyatt WTF, maybe he's going to be the clown from it. Clown from what? I don't understand what you mean by clown from what. You'll explain it later, I'm sure, as I keep rolling along, Big Stupid. But yeah, here we go. Puppet Buzzard with a Hawaiian shirt. Bray Wyatt's coming back. Gonna be interesting to see how that happens. We also saw a new promo from Mojo Rawley as he continues to look into the mirror and yell at himself. This time, the mirror was shattered, and he was insulting himself about WrestleMania, and he had these lines, these shattered blue lines, almost like broken glass around one of his eyes. So we will, we'll see where that goes. I'm kind of intrigued because Mojo Rawley seems like a guy who works his ass off, so I would like to see him actually have a gimmick that works for him and see him do well, but we'll see how this goes. It's interesting, I'll say, with regards to that. Oh, I get it. From the movie It. Because it wasn't capitalized, that didn't register. Big stupid. Maybe he's a clown from It, where he just like shapeshifts. Instead of shapeshifting into a spider, he shapeshifts into a buzzard. I see where you're going there. Like the clown is Pennywise is just a shapeshifter and can shapeshift into different things. Or his original form was like this weird spider. But I see where you're going. I kind of like it. And honestly, why not? Why not with Bray Wyatt? Let's just get as ridiculous as possible with it at this point. Like, why not? Sami Zayn also returned this week, and he cut a heel promo. Very good promo. He tore into the fans at the Barclays Center. And tore into them, and specifically cut it on how fans that are in arenas that take over the arenas with their chants and are like keyboard warriors, I guess you could say, or critics online, are what's ruining wrestling and ruining WWE. Which I kind of liked, and how he's going to go out there in order to prove them all wrong or prove their hypocrisy and like show them their ugliness every single week. So very interested and very convincing promo from Sami Zayn. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And yeah, I mean, maybe he's, to an extent, when you think about it, he's kind of right. Sometimes these fans go a little overboard. Sometimes fans go a little overboard with the critiquing and everything. And yeah, he not only is he a heel, but he's a heel that makes a point. And I think there's some right things going on for Sami Zayn in the near future if he keeps this gimmick running and it keeps taking off and it keeps doing well like this. Also, Dean Ambrose, it was his final, we believe. Might be, might not be. We'll find out in the coming weeks. If he doesn't come back, then yeah, he was really gone. So Dean Ambrose had his final match against Bobby Lashley. He got absolutely brutalized, going out on his back, as you traditionally do when you leave. But then they had a nice send-off for him after the show that was a WWE.com exclusive and on their YouTube, so I recommend you check that out if you haven't yet. And Rollins came out. He called out Reigns. They brought out Dean. Dean had a nice little discussion about how much he's going to miss the fans and how much he loves the fans. And it was a nice little thing for Dean. If Dean really is gone, I wish him happiness in whatever he does in the future, whether he takes a break from wrestling entirely, whether he goes to AEW, or if he's just, going on some sort of prolonged sabbatical before he re-signs with WWE. You're going to be missed, man, and I hope that you come back soon. And I'm sorry that your final heel storyline didn't work out too well and that the writers just bungled it completely. Then, in order to combine things from Raw over to SmackDown, we had two superstars do things on both shows. Well, three, technically. Lacey Evans first came out on Raw, socked Becky Lynch in the face, and Becky Lynch beat the hell out of her. Then on SmackDown, she came out again and attacked Becky and knocked Becky down and then left. And then Becky was kind of licking her wounds, all pissed off. So it looks like Lacey Evans might be the first challenger to Becky's championships. Don't know if she's going to challenge for one of them or both of them, but we will see. So long as she does better than she did at the Rumble, I guess this will be okay. The physicality was good between the two of them, so I'm willing to see where this goes. See how it pans out. Lars Sullivan also finally debuted on the main roster. You could kind of see when you were looking at him that he was nervous, but I'm so glad he was able to get over his issues, his problems, and come back and debut and actually do his thing. He brutalized Kurt Angle, which was cool, and then he just destroyed the Hardy Boys, Brock Lesnar circa 2001 style, right after the Hardy Boys won the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. So a little weird to have the Hardy Boys win the tag team titles from the Usos and then just get destroyed by Lars Sullivan. But whatever. I'm happy to see Lars debuting. I'm happy to see the Hardy Boys retain the championships. Might not have been the way I would have booked them intersecting like that, but it is what it is. Braun Strowman also showed up on SmackDown as well, because Samoa Joe was basically like talking about how there's nobody who could threaten him, how he was going to run SmackDown, I guess. And out came Braun Strowman, and Samoa Joe was like, nope, that's a whole lot of nope right there. So we don't know. With the Superstar Shakeup, it was meant to tease the Superstar Shakeup that maybe Braun will go to SmackDown. Would definitely be interesting. I mean, what if they turn Braun heel and you had a Braun versus Kofi WWE Championship rivalry? I think that would be entertaining as all hell, as long as they made it a program that went for a few months. And then finally, there was one more double appearance. Drew McIntyre showed up alongside the Bar to battle the New Day, but he ended up losing in the main event. And we got another wonderful celebration segment with Kofi, which was great. And I think that my best part was when they first came out. Everybody was chanting for Woods like to cry or not to cry, and Woods was just like, I already cried all my tears. There's nothing left. I cried it all out on Sunday. I got it all out on Sunday. And then again, they stood tall to end the show. So let's get into some wrestling news, shall we? We're through with WWE stuff. There's some more WWE stuff in the news. I'm just going to read these results. There will not be a review because I didn't get to watch the full show, and we talked enough at length already about NXT TakeOver and about WrestleMania. So G1 Supercard happened. This was the big show between ROH and New Japan that happened in Madison Square Garden, and there were some really awesome things that happened. There were some meh things that happened. Just going to read off the results for you guys. Kagetsu, Jenny Rose, and Hazuki defeated Hana Kimura, Stella Gray, and Sumi Senkai in the pre-show in a six-woman tag team match. Kenny King won the Battle Royal by eliminating Jushin Thunder Liger last. He now has the right to challenge for an for the ROH World Championship at a date I guess he gets to pick later. That was also on the pre-show. Then Jeff Cobb defeated Will Ospreay to retain the ROH TV Championship and win the Never Openweight Championship off of Ospreay. That was a bit of a shock. Rush defeated Dalton Castle. Kelly Klein defeated Mayu Iwatani to win the Women of Honor World Championship. Flip Gordon and Lifeblood, which is the team of Juice Robinson and Mark Haskins, defeated Bully Ray, Shane Taylor, and Silas Young in a 6-man tag team New York City street fight. Dragon Lee actually defeated Taiji Ishimori and Bandito to win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa of Bullet Club, also known as Gorillas of Destiny or God, GOD, defeated Villain Express, which is PCO and Brody King. Evil and Sonata, representing Los Ingobernables de Japan. And the Briscoe brothers, Jay and Mark, to retain the IWGP Tag Team Championships and win the ROH Tag Team Championships, as both belts were on the line. Championships were on the line. Titles. Sorry, please don't take me away in a bag, Vince McMahon. Oh God, I just said that. I just said Vince McMahon while I'm talking. I hope I don't get fired. Oh wait, I haven't worked for them for nearly 2 years, so I don't know what I'm worrying about. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just off on a tangent, just filling air. I don't know what I am doing. Somebody please help me. Anyway, rolling on. Zack Sabre Jr. with Taka Michinoku in his corner defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi by submission to retain the British Heavyweight Championship. Then, in the biggest shocker of the entire show and one of the best moments, I think, of the weekend, the whole weekend, like WWE shows aside, Kota Ibushi has finally won his first major singles championship in New Japan, having defeated Tetsuya Naito to win the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. So it doesn't look like, unless Ibushi's going to drop right away, that Ibushi is going to eventually go to AEW in time for Double or Nothing. Seems like Ibushi's going to stick around. Can we get Ibushi for IWGP Heavyweight Champion now? Now that they've decided to finally go and give him the Intercontinental Championship. I don't have any change. Thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bit cheer from Big Stupid saying, wake up, Rugged, get the train back on track, which I have done. Then we had the ROH World Heavyweight Championship or World Championship match, triple threat ladder match, and Matt Taven ended up beating Jay Lethal and Marty Scurll to win that championship. I mean, it makes sense that Scurll was going to win it because it's believed that now Scurll's contract is up. He's going to be signing with AEW and join Double or Nothing. But really, you're going to have Matt Taven reign over instead of Jay Lethal? Man, it's kind of lame. But it's okay, because the show made up for it, because the night ended with the ace, Kazuchika Okada. He is the ace of New Japan. I know that they refer to Tanahashi as the ace, but I'm calling him the ace. The Rainmaker, if that fits better, Kazuchika Okada defeated Jay White, who had Geto by his side, finally getting justice on those who betrayed him and winning the IWGP Heavyweight Championship once again. And long may Okada reign once again, because Okada is arguably the best wrestler in the entire world. So, those are the G1 Supercard results. Two other stories I wanted to talk about. If nobody has been paying attention to Viceland, I suggest you do so. They launched the first 2 episodes over the last couple weeks of its Dark Side of the Ring documentary series. It is a 4-episode series about some really about stories about wrestlers or superstars who passed away and how it was kind of under tragic circumstances. I don't recommend, if you are under the age of 18 or, a young viewer, to watch this though, because it is pretty. They don't pull any punches. They don't really censor themselves too much, and that doesn't just mean language. There is a lot of detail in these. The episode 1 was Randy Savage and Elizabeth in what was called the Match Made in Heaven, and it talks about Savage meeting Liz, their rise in wrestling, going to WWE, their highs, their lows, going to WCW, the eventual divorce, Elizabeth having an affair with Lex Luger, the two of them being together, Luger getting her onto pills, her ODing, and then Savage's eventual tragic death of a heart attack and a car crash. Really emotional stuff, but good stuff if you really want to learn more about the backstage stuff with the ring. They've gotten lots of good people in these shows. Dutch Mantell narrated episode 1, which also had, for those of you who don't know Dutch Mantell, he was also Zeb Coulter in WWE. Is that a cable channel or just on the internet? It's on the internet. So you can go to just search Viceland Dark Side of the Ring and it'll show up. They also had they didn't have Hogan, but they had Hogan's wife. I can't remember her for Linda, I believe it was. Or is it Linda or Terry? I can't remember his wife's first name, but they had her as well. They had Lanny Poffo, Macho Man's brother. They had Eric Bischoff. They had Scott Hall and Jake the Snake Roberts giving interviews for that episode. Lots of good stuff. And then they also have out, which is out of order, episode 3. And this is the one that's really disturbing and chilling. And this is the one where, like, you guys could probably get away with watching Savage and Elizabeth and be like, yeah, that was sad. The killing of Bruiser Brody. That stuff gets real and serious. So if you really want to know, jump in, but be advised, it gets serious, it gets real. They do not skimp on the details. They have Tony Atlas and Dutch Mantell there. They give their full accounts of what happened. Tony Atlas tells you everything that he saw in this documentary. They also had Abdullah the Butcher, Mick Foley narrated, and they had the wife and son of Bruiser Brody also doing interviews. So very eye-opening, deep stuff. And I can't remember what the other 2 episodes are on, but they do have 2 more episodes. Big Stupid asked, did they go into the whole Macho Man Stephanie McMahon thing, or and that being why Vince blacklisted him? No, they did not. They mostly just stuck to he and Liz and their relationship. Yes, Bruiser Brody, for those who don't know, he was murdered in Puerto Rico in the promotion that was run by Carlos Colon, who is a WWE Hall of Famer, by the way. Also owned by Gorilla Monsoon, but Gorilla Monsoon didn't have any direct interaction with it. Carlos Colon was a person there. For example, Atlas says that when they got there, like, one of the guys, he went by the wrestling name The Invader. He's the guy who murdered Brody. He got acquitted in court, and you'll find out that the court case and everything was kind of a sham when you see Atlas and Mantell's interviews. The Invader had a long history with Brody, because Brody used to beat the ever-living crap out of him in their matches, like, brutally. And Brody was looking to buy into have a stake in that Puerto Rican organization. And basically, I think they owed Brody money in addition to that. So Brody was going to the show to perform, but also to try and get his money back. And Vader was supposed to pick him up. He didn't. They got to the show. Vader, Carlos Colon, and one of the other owners were all sitting in chairs in like a circle next to each other, not saying anything. And then, like, when they all got in the locker room, Vader called Brody into the shower, closed the door, and then next thing Tony Atlas heard immediately almost after they got in there was a loud, audible gasp from Brody, and then a second one, and Atlas opened the door and apparently pulled Brody out of the shower right before Vader was about to slit Brody's throat. So I apologize if that was a little too graphic. I won't say any more because it gets even more graphic, but that's the kind of stuff they talk about. And Atlas tells his entire story. Dutch Mantel tells his entire story. Abdul the Butcher tells what he can. They did interview, I don't believe they interviewed Carlos Colon. They pulled archived interviews from Carlos Colon because both Vader and Carlos Colon denied to be interviewed when Viceland approached them. But seriously, if you guys are wrestling fans and you think you can handle the graphicness of the subject material and the seriousness of the subject material, I highly suggest you check that stuff out. And then the other big piece of news in wrestling is an injury bit of news. And that is that sadly Big E has suffered a torn meniscus. This is via his Twitter at WWE Big E. His tweet said, quote, "Making mincemeat of my meniscus, crossbody, cooked the cartilage, bye for a bit." WWE.com confirmed the injury and that E is not medically cleared to wrestle, but they did not specify whether or not he would still be on TV. Pro Wrestling Sheet claims, by the way, that it has sources, multiple sources. Apparently, they are saying that E will be getting his knee scoped and will be out of action for wrestling for 6 weeks. So it's unfortunate, but I hope E gets fixed soon. I'm hoping he ends up on TV, but if he needs to rest at home, he needs to rest at home. I'm sure Woods and Kofi will be able to shoulder the load themselves and handle things while he's gone. Quick and speedy recovery to E. Big stupid, wow, holy crap. Yeah, no, it gets serious in that documentary. All right, wrestling quick hits. Kushida made his NXT debut against Cassius Ohno at this week's NXT tapings. Both Glacier and Brian Pillman Jr. had been announced for the AEW Double or Nothing Over the Budget Battle Royal. That was announced via the Road to Double or Nothing series on Cody and Brandy's Nightmare Family YouTube channel. Nia Jax is also going to be undergoing surgery to repair damage in both of her ACLs. They weren't torn, but they were apparently damaged. She announced that via her Twitter. And then Fyter Fest, which is the AEW Cross CEO show. CEO is the Fighting Game Championships down in Florida. They're having an actual wrestling show sponsored by AEW. It has added a six-man tag match of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Pac and the Lucha Bros. And that was announced via at AEW Wrestling on Twitter. And with all of that, everybody, we move on from wrestling to the video games. There's not a lot of gaming stuff this week. There's one big story and a lot of quick hits. So let's go ahead and let's jump into it. The big gaming story is that EA and Respawn have officially revealed Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, and the game looks great. Finally, hopefully, the game will follow the character known as Cal Kestis, a Padawan who survived Order 66 and who attempts to lay low, working odd jobs, but is eventually, and like salvage jobs it appears, but eventually discovered by the Empire. Upon being found out, the Empire sends out one of its Inquisitors, the Second Sister, and her Purge Troopers to hunt down and kill Cal. Now, the Inquisitors were introduced in Star Wars Rebels. They are basically dark side Force users that serve Darth Vader and are tasked with searching out, hunting down, and killing any remaining Jedi who survived Order 66. The Purge Troopers are a new addition to the canon, and their job is to investigate claims and sightings of Jedi, determine whether or not there actually is a Jedi there, and then call in the Inquisitors. So, also, Cal says in the trailer that in the post-Order 66 Galaxy, there are 3 rules to survive. Don't stand out, accept the past, and trust no one. However, Cal breaks every single one of these rules in the trailer as he accidentally stands out using the Force to save somebody in front of an Imperial probe droid. He refuses to accept the past by fighting against the Inquisitors, I suppose, and trust no one. He ends up befriending and trusting this character, Seri, and he also trusts his best friend / droid, who is almost like a pet or buddy to him, BD1, or which he also calls BD. The game itself will be a third-person action melee game that will promise an innovative lightsaber combat system along with force abilities in addition to platforming and puzzle solving for level traversal. So, sounds a lot, well, I'll get into more of it. It is the rest here. It is a solely single-player game. There will be no multiplayer component, they are claiming, and there will also be no microtransactions. This is a complete about-face from Battlefront 2. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order will release on November 15th, 2019 for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Now, this game, from all of what Respawn's saying, is it sounds like this is going to be the spiritual successor to the Dark Forces and Jedi Knight series, which, oh hell yes, I am excited for this. I cannot wait. The fact that there is no multiplayer kind of actually does bum me out, because if it does play like Dark Forces and Jedi Knight and the Jedi Knight series, specifically Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy, had great multiplayer server base where you could jump into maps, run around, do free-for-all game types. You could also like join into clans and get involved in duels, and the servers maps became hangout places as opposed to frag places. It was a great multiplayer component that fostered a wonderful community, and the fact that like this game, if it's going to be the spiritual successor of that, won't have that option is kind of saddening to me. But who knows? They say there won't be a multiplayer component. Maybe they'll have one eventually in the future, like as DLC or something. We'll see. Either way, this game looks like a lot of fun. It sounds like it's going to be like Jedi Knight and Dark Forces, which are my favorite Star Wars games of all time. I love them, I think, even more than Knights of the Old Republic. So I'm very much looking forward to this game. Now I just want to get into some gaming quick hits. The next Assassin's Creed game will reportedly release in 2020. It will be centered on Vikings and titled Kingdom, and was teased in The Division 2 with artwork in one of the buildings, I think it was one of the museums, of a Viking holding what appeared to be the Apple of Eden. And Jason Schreier of Kotaku, who is normally right, he is one of the best reporters, if not the best reporter in the entire gaming industry. Pretty much everything he reports on is true. So I have reason to believe that we do know that the next Assassin's Creed game is coming. It will not be this year. It will be in 2020, which gives me plenty of time to finally get around to playing Odyssey and Origins. Maybe. We'll see. Vikings, because Vikings, like I said. Why? Because Vikings. Works for the War Raiders. It'll work for Assassin's Creed. And it'll be titled Kingdom. Also, Infinity Ward and Respawn Entertainment. We were just talking about Respawn Entertainment. You know, they're making Jedi Fallen Order. They are also the studio behind Titanfall and Apex Legends. One of their co-founders, Jason West, the other co-founder is Vince Zampella. Infinity Ward, by the way, the father studio of the Call of Duty franchise. The co-founder, Jason West, has reportedly joined Epic Games to work on its game development efforts. No other information is known. That came via Jeff Keighley on a tweet. Another, again, like Jason Schreier, if I was going to trust people in the industry, Jeff Keighley is one of them. So, interesting to see what Jason West's role with Epic is going to be and what he's going to be doing with them. Mortal Kombat also dropped 2 new trailers. They revealed the return of Kitana to the roster, as well as the debut of a new character called the Collector. He was a former servant or worker of Shao Kahn. He was basically kind of like a mafia boss kind of like person who would collect on people that owed Shao Kahn things and potentially kill them too. But he is a character who is now facing execution via Kotal Khan, since Shao Kahn is now dead. You can go to Mortal Kombat on YouTube to view both the trailers and check out both characters. And then the last thing, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I hear it's a good game. Lots of people are enjoying it. It's from the people who make the Dark Souls games and everything, I believe, from Software. They are celebrating another successful game. They have moved over 2 million copies in the last 10 days. And that was via an announcement from Activision. And that is everything for the show. Big Stupid Ass, just a thought. Do you want to throw some guesses on who moves where for the draft? I would, but I honestly cannot think of them right now. I would have to like sit here and think and look at both rosters, and I don't want to leave you guys sitting here in silence. So maybe on my gameplay stream on Monday night, we'll react to those who have been moved, and then maybe predict who could get moved on Tuesday night. Before I do the housekeeping call to action, guys, for anybody who jumped in live or didn't catch the very beginning of the episode, I just want to let everybody know, as I announced at the beginning of the show, Super Grapple Bros, after this episode, will be taking a hiatus. D-Murph, with how busy he is and the fact that this takes me a lot of time to produce, to pre-produce and research and everything, we're going to take a bit of a break so that way I can get some weekends going, especially with Easter next week. And with WrestleMania having now happened, we're kind of in the lull of the wrestling season. Obviously, the shakeup will do things, but we can always comment on the shakeup in my gameplay streams. And when we return, we are also going to be evaluating how we want to do the show. We don't know if we're going to continue to do it weekly, if we're going to try and do it twice a month, maybe just stick to preview and review shows. Maybe we'll do topics of discussion. We're going to talk all this over. The show is not going to end, so don't worry about that. We're just going away for a while. We are currently planning on coming back for May 18th in time for Money in the Bank, so it'll be about a 4-month hiatus. And by then, we'll have a better idea on what we're going to do going forward for the show. We may keep things the way they are. We might change things. But we will see. But I needed some R&R on the weekends, or maybe some more opportunities to do gameplay streams on the weekend. And D-Murph needed to not have to worry about trying to fit all of his stuff around and whatnot. And if we can figure out a way to get him on the show more often, and if that means doing the show less often, and maybe finding ways to make shows shorter if possible or more efficient, we're going to figure that out. So thank you guys to everybody who's been watching the show, who's been a fan, who's been a listener, who's been a viewer, and to everybody who is going to be patient and wait for us while we take this little like month-long sabbatical. So we will be back. And don't forget, if you guys ever have any wrestling or gaming questions for me, I will still be doing gaming live streaming content on Twitch at twitch.tv/L_Murpho. You can always join the Discord server and ask me directly on the Discord server. Again, in the show notes, on the video description, and on the channel page, and you can chat, ask wrestling related questions there, and we'll be happy to engage with you guys there. Other ways you can, other thing you can do for the Discord server is you can get involved with the 2 channels there in the Discord server for Super Grapple Bros. One is the predictions, so if you want to make sure you're in on the predictions for Money in the Bank when we return, make sure you join the Discord server and get your predictions in for the viewer predictions when the time comes. And you can also contribute to the feedback channel for Super Grapple Bros. Give any suggestions, feedback, questions, trivia, anything you want to do, go ahead and submit it there. We'll be listening and paying attention to that channel even more so over the next month as we evaluate the show and how we want to format it when we return from our hiatus. Do not forget, with regards to the show, you can watch this live on Twitch and also back on in VOD form at twitch.tv/L_Murpho. You can watch the VOD on YouTube as well at youtube.com/LMurphoReal. Be sure to like, share, subscribe over there. You can also listen to the audio version by searching Super Grapple Bros on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and lots of other places where you find them. Be sure to look them up there. Do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. The more ratings and reviews we get on those places, the more visibility they have on those platforms. Do not forget, if you, again, the Discord server to leave feedback and predictions. You can also leave feedback at supergrapplebros@gmail.com. You can also follow myself and D-Murph on Twitter. I am at L_Murpho. D-Murph is at D-Murph_42. You can get our announcements from when we go live, which we also put into the Discord server, and also just random tweets of various forms of entertainment, all different types of levels. You guys can let us know if we're actually entertaining or if we just say so on the show. All right. Thank you guys so much. Big Stupid says, so right after you get the belt back, time to do less shows. You're hilarious, man. I will let you guys know I did discuss this with D-Murph before I made this announcement, and he was totally 100% behind it. Plus, he decided not to show up to 1,000,001 shows while holding on to this, so turnaround's fair play. Don't worry, we'll be back, and your champion will be here for every single episode when we do have an episode, unlike your Brock Lesnar of the show. All right, guys, thank you all so much for listening or watching. As always, we end every episode with the Kayfabe News headline of the episode, and this one is a good one. And it ties into the whole Brock Lesnar thing I was just saying. The headline of the episode from Kayfabe News is, all 83 trillion species in the universe celebrate their new champion. That being Seth Rollins, the architect. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Do not forget, we'll be taking this hiatus for a month, but we will be back. We'll be back in time for Money in the Bank. So we'll see you guys for Money in the Bank. Thank you all for listening and sticking around. This is also the 2-year anniversary of our show, of our podcast. So if you've been around since the beginning, thank you all so much. If you've been around for a year or come along with us on this journey over the last 2 years, we really appreciate it. We'll be back to kick off our 3rd year of the podcast around Money in the Bank weekend. So thank you all so much. Peace, deuce, the deuce, deuce. We'll catch y'all later. Bye-bye now. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
Shut up and sit down.